Hey guys, what's going on? Today is day 7 in 365 days of going through the Bible. Today in particular is January the 7th, 2015. I'm going back a couple years. Um, Today we are going to go through, or at least I have reflected on, Hebrews chapter 3, verses 1 through 6. Let me give you a little bit of a context here also. Back in Acts, I think it's Acts chapter 6, verses 11. They're stoning Stephen, which I don't know how many of you are actually familiar with Stephen. Stephen was a saint. He was martyred, stoned, which if you don't know what stoning is, essentially they would throw you into, or throw you down and throw boulders at you, essentially, until you would die. That's essentially what it is. It wasn't always a quick death either. For the most part, they would stone you because you're blaspheming, or you're, in a lot of ladies' things, you were, unfaithful to your husband. They apparently were thinking about, that's what Joseph was worried about with Mary. He was afraid that they were going to stone him. There's many times in the Bible where that's their answer, it's to stone somebody. It's kind of crazy. But Stephen was caught blaspheming, and says in the Bible, it says he was blaspheming Moses and God, because he believes that Christ was the real Christ, was Jesus Christ himself, the Messiah. Where you have the Jewish people have kind of flipped the script now. Now they say Moses before God. Used to be God, you would barely even say the word God. So now this thought process is completely changed. Well, here in chapter 3 of Hebrews, we read on, and it talks about Moses once again. And it talks about how great Moses was during his time and how faithful he was. But it goes on to say that Christ is greater than Moses. Which, once again, in the Jewish faith would be blasphemous, because they don't see Christ as Christ. They see Christ as some, prophet or some preacher or some wandering person. But the thing is that it goes on to say in the scripture that Moses was helping with the building of the house, of God's house. But Jesus has a bigger stake in it because he's a son. If you hire a contractor to build something, they're working for a paycheck. Well, Moses wasn't working for a paycheck, but he's working because he was ordered to. Whereas Jesus was the son, and if you hire your own son, if they have the mind to do that kind of thing, they have a stake in it, because eventually this is going to be their inheritance. Eventually, once you pass away, or once you give it to them. That's the best way I can think of it. Now, God doesn't die. Jesus is God, so it's kind of crazy. But for me, it's the best way to picture it. But the thing is it goes on to say, and I think that's verse 6. And it goes on to say about how we are the house. People typically talk about the house of God being this church, this building that we go to every Sunday, and that's what a world's perspective is. From a Christian standpoint, typically we try to see the house of God as ourselves. Now, there are some Christians out there, we aren't perfect, that say that the church is the house of God. No, we are the house of God. We are the people that Christ was working on. And he now is in heaven, and he now is working on the time that we are going to join him. It's kind of crazy to think about that. I mean, really it is. The fact that soon and I don't know how soon, but, sooner or later, Christ is going to come back. He's going to take his bride home, which we as the church represent his bride. And he's going to take us home to the house of God, the actual house, the actual place where we will worship him for eternity. Whereas right now, we're sinful people, and we will try to hold on to our faith, and we will try to be better people and stronger Christians. In the scripture, it talks about how we must hold fast, and the people who fight the faith will win the reward. Seems like that means that we can lose our faith. Actually, no, it's just that through being a Christian, you're going to go through trials, and you're going to hurt, and you're going to have issues. And those who fight through all that and continue the faith will receive their reward in heaven. I know this is a little long for me. It's just been kind of a crazy thing. It's such a small section of scripture, but there's so much information on it. I haven't even barely tapped the very bit. But read the scripture. It's Hebrews chapter 3, 1 through 6. And you will just be able to dive into it and just study even more. I'm going to actually stop because I'm getting to about the 7-minute mark. And it's kind of crazy for me. I've never gone this long. So just remember that Christ is the foundation for our belief. Christ is the reason why we are Christians, and the reason why we fight the faith and keep the walk. Is that eventually through him we will be able to go to someplace so much better than where we are now. Continue along with me. Tomorrow we continue on through chapter 3. And like Rich said, we're catching up to chapter 5 again, where we were yesterday. Well, I'll see ya in the morning, and I'll talk to y'all soon. Peace.